perfect timing. The food just arrived.
Sorry about that. My mom has a thing where I have to check in with her every time I am meeting someone new. You never know what kind of crazy people are out there doing crazy stuff. I am just trying to make sure you don't get wrapped up in it. Stuff like that.
You are very lucky to have a mother looking out for you like that.
Yeah, I suppose. It is frustrating sometimes, like, the way she does it. My dad used to do some super secret work for the government. Mom tries to use some of the tricks she picked up from his stories. Like just now when I called, she pretended to need to know the answer to a very specific question from my childhood. She needed to know the name of my sister's favorite turtle for a friend.
Seems harmless enough.
Sure, until you realize my sister had at least 37 turtles and each one was her favorite in a different way. She would be so mad at me for telling you that. Never give out personal information. That's how they get you. Anyway, where were we?
I think we agreed that we should move beyond high school stories after establishing my ability to ask great questions that remained unanswered.
And I'm still not allowed to ask about your religious education, right?
You can ask, but it is still too early for me to answer them. We should jump ahead to my Navy training. It was a crash course in classic physics intended to prepare me for a crash course in nuclear reactor physics.
Let me guess, more Sir Isaac Newton bashing.
It's not like I was going out of my way to find opportunities to tear down an icon. I figured this was military training. If I was being prepared for war, and this was the stuff they were teaching me, now more than ever it was important that I understood it.
I'm guessing you didn't learn anything new this time either.
I learned the Navy had a much lower tolerance for my cute little questions than my high school teachers did. 2 questions. First, if all objects tend to stay at rest or in motion unless acted on by an outside force, and gravity is an outside force that acts on everything all the time trying to pull stuff together, why isn't everything crunched together in a big ball? Second, if I pick up this book and drop it, what will be the equal and opposite force of the drop? That sounds like a very well-rehearsed plan to make me look stupid. If you can't understand this stuff, I suggest you press the I believe button and write down the right answer on the test. If you want to keep playing games, I'm more than happy to write you up for insubordination. Any more questions, wise guy? No more questions.
I will admit that Guy was a jerk, but it does sound like you were trying to make him look stupid.
That's a matter of opinion, I suppose. I still believe if a student can make a teacher look stupid by asking a question related to the subject matter, then maybe the person should not be a teacher.
You don't honestly believe teachers should know the answer to every possible question.
I really don't want to go down the road of debating the role of a teacher in the classroom. Let me ask it this way. Why are we teaching this information if students are unable to have really tough questions answered, and why is it necessary for us to teach it multiple times? It's not like I need to calculate the gravity of my car before I drive over a bridge.
That's a good point. Any chance you are being overly simplistic here? You were encouraged to continue asking those questions at the college level. I mean, you personally may have been unable to attend college, but maybe one of your high school classmates had the same questions as you and they were able to ask a college professor. If that were to happen, is that an example of the system still working?
In theory, sure. In reality, I did eventually get to attend college. I did eventually plan to ask my cute little questions to a college professor. There's no need to speculate regarding the outcome.
Based on your response, I'm guessing everything was exactly the same.
This time, everything was completely different.
Okay class, forget everything you know about gravity. Albert Einstein retired Sir Isaac Newton's theory of gravity in 1915. His theory of relativity will be what you are expected to know going forward. We still use Newton's theories because they work so well, but we know they are flawed. Please don't ask any questions about gravity unless they pertain to inertial reference frames.
Whoa, he would not let you even ask your question. Did you let him have it? I bet you were furious.
I was feeling very confident going into the session. After hearing that introduction, I was demoralized.
Demoralized. Why? I would have guessed you felt vindicated. This means your hunch was right all along, or am I missing something?
At that point, I didn't even care about that. I gave up. What's the point of caring anymore?
Wait a second. Every chance you get to ask a question about gravity, you basically shame the teacher into using a power play to shut you up. You finally get proven right, and you just give up. That makes no sense.
Going into that class, I felt empowered to really dig into the specifics. I could understand how high school was not the place to debate Newton's theories. Even in the Navy, there was a mission to accomplish, and debating Newton was definitely not a top priority. But college, I was paying to be there. The whole reason for being there was to learn. At least that's what I thought at the time. I did end up asking a question about the validity of inertial reference frames, but when the professor suggested I had to take another course to understand it better, and that was not on my required course of study, I gave up. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I'm a really big idiot. I had fallen for the please ask questions line enough times. I was not going to spend more money to fall into the same trap.
How could you just give up? What does that even mean?
It means I accepted my lot in life and stopped asking questions in class. Memorize the material for the tests and don't make trouble. I resigned myself to that fate.
That's obviously not how this story ends. What happened to change your mind?
Having given up on science, I started reading lots of science fiction. One book in particular invalidated everything I thought I knew. A famous thought experiment was devised by Erwin Schrödinger in 1935, describing the difficulties that are inherent in the field of quantum mechanics. A box contains a radioactive source, a gun, and a live cat. In some cases described in the paradox, a bottle of poison is preferred to a gun. The equipment is so arranged that the radioactive source may decay and emit a neutron, and in doing so will trigger a gun to shoot the cat. But if the radioactive source does not decay, the cat lives. Being a quantum particle, however, the radioactive source does not have to choose between these 2 possible states. It may combine both positions. This is known as a superposition. If the experiment lasts just long enough for a 50% chance of radioactive decay, then the nature of quantum mechanics suggests that the cat is neither alive nor dead until the box is open. Indeed, the cat occupies a ghostly position in a limbo between life and death. Some of the greatest scientific minds have wrestled with this paradox and failed to make sense of it. As Albert Einstein has said, if quantum physics is correct, then the world is crazy. That description was buried in the footnotes of Philip Kerr's novel The Second Angel.
And that inspired you to engage college professors and really dig into academia?
Absolutely not. I was furious. You have to remember, this was long before the internet convinced everyone every answer to every question is at our fingertips. I was 25 years old, and the first time I became aware of Schrödinger's cat was because of the functional equivalent of an afterthought in a random book. The entire education institution was invalidated as far as I was concerned. The majority of my life has been dedicated to chasing high grades in a curriculum that had been twice proven to be discredited.
That is a very strong statement. You got all that from reading about a cat in a book.
2 cats, but pretty much, yeah. When I would get confused reading the Bible, people used to tell me to go ask a religious authority figure for help understanding. I honestly cannot think of a single example where a religious leader offered real clarity on any question I asked. They would usually just say doubt was the devil's way of keeping people from following the words in the Bible. My mother was the one that told me to keep asking questions if I was dissatisfied with any answer I received. She would say, there isn't anything special about those men. God does not love them any more than he loves you. If you have questions, go directly to God. Pray about it. God will lead you to the answer. After reading that footnote in the book, after more than a decade of being told I was too dumb to understand something that was invalidated more than 6 decades before I was born, I made the decision to apply my mother's logic to academic authority figures.
You decided to answer these science questions yourself.
Sounds silly to hear it said out loud, but in a way, yeah, there was nothing special about those professors. Anything they could learn I could learn. Probably the best way to say it is I decided to clear up my own confusion.
If you had to guess, how many unanswered questions would you say you had left to answer?
None.
So you taught yourself quantum physics.
That's an oversimplification, but yes, I taught myself, among other things, quantum physics.
And you don't have any more questions.
That's right.
That makes one of us because I have tons.